The deadline set for the submission of the new minimum wage report has passed with no resolution by the committee members. Documents from the Wage Minimum Committee show that an average of 56 memoranda were received at the zonal public hearings. On an average, based on these memoranda, the new minimum wage should be at about 622,650 naira across the geopolitical zones. In this report, Trustee Sagir Ibrahim speaks with Nigerians who shared their thoughts on the feasibility and possible economic implications of having a minimum wage above 500,000 naira. The report.
The 37-man tripartite committee set up by the federal government to review the national minimum wage revealed that it had received a total of 56 memoranda across the 6 geopolitical zones. It also added that it had received reports of the zonal hearings held across the 6 zones of the country, during which each zone suggested different amounts as minimum wage. For the North Central Zone, 338,400 naira was suggested as the proposed new minimum wage. In the Northeast, 298,277 naira was suggested. For the Northwest, 355,210 naira was suggested as the new minimum wage. In the Southeast geopolitical zone of the country, 495,666 naira was suggested. And for the South-South geopolitical zone, 1,199,400 naira was suggested as the proposed minimum wage. In the Southwest, 472,200 naira was suggested. With the recommendations in, the question of whether the federal, state government and the private sector will be able to shoulder a minimum wage regime above 500,000 naira has led to a new round of controversy.
You don't blame people that are requesting beyond the 400,000 naira, because if you look at the condition of Nigeria now, for you to even buy anything in the market, the purchasing power is not there, and money does not have a much value, because you have to consider transport, rent, and now food is taking over 70% of our income. So how do you do health, transport, rent, and other things?
I don't think it's very, very feasible to get those numbers. Even 100,000 is going to be extremely difficult, because right now, almost every subsidy is gone in the economy. And there's no stable power. We have to look at these variable factors that are actually operating to see how it is fair for private sectors and also how it is going to be fair for the government as well.
With state governments and some private sector players barely able to meet up with the current 30,000 naira wage, these Nigerians are worried about the economic consequences of an increased minimum wage.
Before you begin to even have this discussion, the first thing you should have done is to look at the debt profile, or debt exposure of some of these states. And don't even look at the ones that are a little rural. Look at the very cosmopolitan ones, and then see, how they are struggling to pay the present day minimum wage. Look at the statistics, of a private sector, companies that are moving to the next level, and the percentage of them that are, closing shop. How many factories, have closed down in the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years? That should be a starting point.
As at now, some governors still don't pay 30,000. They are still paying 18,000 as minimum wage. So how can you say such governors should jump from 18,000 to 200,000? The private sector will be unable to keep their employee, and that's a serious issue, and it's going to affect economic growth, and it's going to affect GDP. Because if I have 5 staff working for me, and apparently now I'm paying them 300,000 altogether, now you now come up with a minimum wage of 150,000, and it has jumped to 750,000 naira without considerable income to the company. I would definitely have to let some people go. So there will be increment in unemployment, and there will be challenge for economic growth in Nigeria.
The tripartite committee on the review of the minimum wage is expected to reconvene mid-April to continue further negotiations of the new minimum wage, now expected to be announced by the president on the 1st of May. From Abuja, Sagir Ibrahim, reporting for Trust TV.